Hey, Ghost Machine fans, this one's for you.
Welcome to the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast, episode 91. In the world of the Unnamed, it's time for the Northerners' alternate history to collide with Tariq Geiger's post-apocalyptic future. This is the moment many Ghost Machine and even Mad Ghost fans have been waiting a few years for. I am Becky, and as usual, I'm joined by my better half. How are you today?
I am one of those mad ghost fans that has been waiting years for this moment. I am excited now that you mention it. Thank you very much. Couldn't be happier about where this piece of the unnamed universe is going. How are you?
I am doing fantastic. I will say my week started out by reading this book. And then today, I actually had my first day at a new job. And I love it. And I'm happy. It's a big change for us and our family. So just sunshine and butterflies all around.
And we have a shout out as usual. Speaking of things to celebrate, this time around it's a little bit different, but as usual, we'd like to thank a very recent collaborator or collaborators that joined us for a post on Instagram. And this time it's to the crew of Rook Exodus. That means the creative team for the book you know and love, for making it into the League of Comic Geeks top 10 series of 2025. As I understand it, and as a user of that platform, I can tell you that's where a lot of people track their collections and their pull lists and their reading lists and like how many books they read in a year. Like it's a lot like that's kind of, you do that. You like you bookie people do that, and your Audible does that, right, Snoggle?
Absolutely.
And people, so in this, like this top 10, because there was some like questions about it on the internet. It's the top 10 comics of 2025 based on user ratings, is my understanding. And so it's not sales based. So it's not anybody out there who's like, well, you know, the absolute universe. If you go look at these top 10, I think almost all the absolute universe comics are on it. So they're there, and Rook is number 7. So, you know, there's plenty of awesome stuff in that top 10, but it was just cool because it's a very organic representation of what that series represents and how it's connecting with people. People really, really want more of that. They dig that.
Agreed.
But enough about that exciting award, because Snoggle is back in the newsroom.
Today is Wednesday, January 14th. It happens to be the release date for Geiger 20, which we will be deep diving into right now. The next final order cutoff date is January 19th, which is your last chance to order Geiger 21 and the Rockefellers 12. And also, even bigger news! According to the back pages of Geiger 20, we have a Ghost Machine Guidebook coming.
I know, right?
There's very exciting.
Really cool 2-page spread on a white background at the end of this comic book. And it is going to be, I don't know a ton of the details, clearly, but it's going to be, I'm envisioning it like back in the day when Youngblood and Wildcats were going strong. They would come out with these like tertiary things. And it would be like Youngblood Strike File. And it would be all like pages that were a few pictures of the character, but then like a written dossier, and then like a bunch of like for a collector. Or like I remember I had this comic that was the X-Men's Guide to the Mansion, and it was all like diagrams of the mansion, and like you could see notes and all this computer stuff. And so I don't know, how much prose is going to be in it or whatever, but it's cool because like when they advertise it, we could talk about it at the end, but they mention a few things that we've kind of heard about. We've mentioned things that only barely been like mentioned by characters in comics. And then there's even like one thing that's mentioned for the first time. So super cool. Really cool.
Yeah, I feel that comics and books, regardless, anything that has a breakdown of the characters in the front, like when you're reading a murder mystery or you're reading a fantasy novel and it shows you the map of the world, it's like, yes. Something about that really immerses you into the universe even further. So that's great.
Yeah, I bet there will be a lot of World of the Unnamed source material. Like if you wanted to go be the dungeon master for the World of the Unnamed tabletop RPG, you would need this book. Right?
Yeah.
So that's cool. That's the neat thing that we have coming in the future. I've heard through the grapevine that 2026 is going to be a good year for new announcements and exciting stuff from our favorite comic book publisher. But speaking of exciting stuff, we now must begin our conversation about Geiger number 20. And to do so, we have 3 covers, all of which are amazing.
They're so good.
So the first one just blows you away because it's the Northerner and Geiger and bam. And you're like, oh man, thank you so much. Why did it take so long? No, it's good that it took so long because it's that much better because they made me wait. And
yeah,
that's a big one because right here, right from this moment, I don't know to mention it more as we go through this issue. At the end of the Junkyard Joe series, in the 6th issue of Junkyard Joe is when you see the portal open, you see Tariq and Barney and the Northerner. Then that continued to evolve, and you saw snippets of the Northerner and like Ghost Machine 80-page giant, and then Ghost Machine #1, and like other stuff like that. And then Geiger Ground Zero, there were some panels.
Yeah.
And there was always this like when is this going to happen? When are these characters going to cross over? When is this going to become like a bigger shared universe? And the shared universe is what like was so akin to classic Valiant and some classic Image, when they had multiple titles depending on the the one. And so you see this and it's like, yes, and like the perfect time too, because that Tariq is just negative town. So he's going to need himself some Northerner in his life. You know what I mean? Like, so he needs a new friend is what I'm saying.
So exciting.
It is neat how the light reflects off of the light of the glowing man reflects off of the Northerner in this cover. But
the second cover by Germán Peralta, oh my gosh, that hourglass that has the Northerner, Geiger, Barney, and our famed redcoat man himself, Simon Pure, get out of town.
I'm envisioning like them. He's like, I need to balance this out. So Simon's gonna ride a horse.
Yeah.
What's so cool about this is it's meant for a person that understands what's going on. And it's perfectly fine if somebody walks up to this cover for the first time, never having read any of this stuff, and is like, wow, that's really cool looking. I'll read this. There's a Civil War dude and a redcoat dude and a future guy and a dog sure. But we look at it and we're like, that's him flowing through the sands of time from the past to the future. That's cool.
Yeah.
And this artist just always comes up with very creative imagery and really cool, man. Super cool.
Yeah, the art's great.
But this is one of those rare occasions where I'm sorry, due to our relationship with a certain friend of the show, SVG Sean Von Gorman, I must say that this third cover takes the cake.
Well, Nick Wilson, how incredibly excited I was when I saw this cover. So Ghost Machine fans, letting you in on a little secret about me. I'm absolutely obsessed with the Broadway sensation and now movie Wicked. I think it is fantastic. So, what a beautiful homage to the Wicked franchise. I mean, every enemy of theirs deserves to fry instead of everyone deserves to fly. It's so good. Sean, 3 cheers, all the stars, no notes. Amazing.
It's hilarious. And it's Ashley Arden too, whispering to Tariq.
Yeah.
Right?
Very, very, very good. Amazing. Thank you.
And that makes this your official spoiler pause for Geiger number 20.
Let's go.
And let's go with a creator roll call. What do you say?
Let's do it. We've got the original band of Geiger's Merry Men. Jeff Johns and Gary Frank are our creators. Our color artiste is Brad Anderson. And as usual, we are joined by the king of letters himself, Rob Lee.
Rob Lee, radioactive man of action. This one, though, as we recall, takes place after the Ashley Arden issue. Issue 19 was the Jim Lee cover issue.
Mm-hmm.
A lot going on there. And most of it was about Ash, except for the epilogue. And this picks us back up from there after a one-pager that does... I like this in comics, but it does catch somebody up. And it catches up somebody who, hasn't read it in a while. It catches somebody up who has read it a lot, like me, but I still like the reminder and the referral back to it. And his narrative is a little different. So that's new. And at the same time, like if I'm totally new to it, it kind of gives me like a quick, like, okay, all right, dude lost, all right, and his family, and like, oh, and he's been killing mutants. All right, cool. If you're going to get like a super sped up version of Geiger with very, like, not too much context, then that kind of does it for you. But Barney got him his rods, which is where we left off. And there's this just beautiful page that starts off this whole like vertical full page that Gary did and Brad.
Yeah, I love it. And he says, good boy.
Kind of the tone of Geiger a lot of the time, especially when we've had issues where he didn't have a lot of characters around him.
Yeah.
It's somewhat reminiscent of that. We'd have a lot of pages like this in the earlier series, and then most of the dialogue pages would be more like the warlord characters in their areas. After all the things, after the prison now, after all the crazy stuff with the guy that was dealing with the pirate warlord and Goldbeard, that's his name. He's just with Barney. He's not with Nate or Zigzag or Joe or Molotov. He's out with Barney alone, and he's basically just done.
He is attending a pity party and has invited himself only. And he's even trying to push Barney away. And I do like the theme of, he tried to push Nate away. He's essentially tried to push anything away that he could potentially care about and lose, like he did his family from the beginning of this series. But it got a little intense in these first several pages where I'm like, wow, okay, we get it. What was you? You don't have a cure. You don't need anyone. And it's interesting. No more missions. No more mercy.
I was going to say, we haven't shown a lot of mercy in a while. This but okay, whatever you say, Going Man. And he goes so far as to say to tell Barney he can go back to Nate and his zebra. He doesn't even call him Zigzag. And twists the knife in our hearts by saying he went back for the dog once, but he won't do it again, implying that leave Barney behind now. Like,
Yeah,
as if, dude, like, I know you're bummed, but like, there's a whole issue about you saving your dog. Come on.
yeah, which we know. And also, I believe Barney knows too, because obviously Barney stays by Tariq's side. I do love, like, after that. I also love Barney, both heads giving us the side eye after he says that. Like, sheesh. There he is. Pity party, table for one. Tariq Geiger over here. And just lays down. Like, I'm not going to leave you.
And they end up back in a library.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets the book, A Dangerous Game, which is like what he was looking for at the start of this series. At the start of this ongoing series, I think, as he met up with Nate-ish. That was significant then. He says that they're going to stay in the library and reminds us that Barney doesn't like libraries. That's where Barney lost his family, I think, like in a fire.
Yeah.
Then the sky parts and fans of Ghost Machine cheer because you see the blue light and some like
and the magic lines.
Yeah, the magic lines. There's also
I love that we know exactly when this happened because he was literally ripped from when he was with Simon. Because all you get is the back half of him screaming Simon, which I can only assume was Simon.
I know, and it's like that's in there because you can only understand it if you've been reading these comics.
Yeah.
Now, again, if it was your first issue ever, that would be different. Like I remember growing up, I saw Ghost Machine too. I saw Back to the Future too first. I know, but I did.
Well, and I love this particularly, and we're going to get more into it. But that means he was ripped from being with Simon while he's trying to make sure the right group of individuals win the Civil War. So he has no idea about nothing right now, right?
Right. The Northerner, he lands in this like cratered fashion like he did before in Redcoat. And he looks up at Barney and Tariq, who is not transformed. He has yet to like light up as if he is threatened. And he just asks him, "Where am I?"
Yeah, he is perplexed.
Yeah.
Where am I? Your dog. He's got two heads.
Did you see how subtle it is too, though? And because he gets frustrated with him and explains, like, basically tells him he'll get, like, he threatens him with Barney. And he starts to have his eyes glow, starts to reach for a rod and says, "Where'd you come from?" And then when the Northerner says 1864 and I need to get back, Gary Frank draws a softened faced Tariq Geiger, which is not a lot of artists that do comic books can do that. And you can tell in that moment, he's like, "Oh, is that so?" As if he's thinking like, "Oh, he's nuts," or he's at least not a threat. Or if that was true, holy God, that makes you wonder like what Tariq is really thinking in that moment, other than he's not a threat.
Yeah, he probably thinks that guy is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, you know? Oh, you're from 1864, are you? Cool.
I mean, he did
Very
just appear
similar
out of
to the
thin
movie
air.
I've been watching, where she's like, "Yes, I am an alien." Oh, you think I'm an alien? I think it's kind of that. So he reads the situation different because he thinks the person isn't mentally stable.
And it's a little detail, but it's for those of us who have been really paying attention. He, as an aside, is like kind of getting his bearings. And he says, "The cobbler wasn't the only one. There are others." So that's just to remind us there's more time bad dudes out there. Yeah, then he turns to Tariq and asks who won the Civil War because he clearly he sees like a Michelin man in a car and he doesn't know what year it is.
And then we turn the page to, quite frankly, one of my favorite splash pages. And oh, it's so good. Which is Nate on Zigzag. "Away from the robot, you thief!"
And it's a like really incredibly detailed thing. It's like a fully armored knight in post-apocalyptia riding a three-eyed zebra who's now pretty much fully grown. I would just like to know, like, how long does that take to the pencil and ink? I would just wonder. There's so much going on there. You can even see that, like, Nate's teeth.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Right.
He's defending Molotov, who's in the truck bed with Junkyard Joe. Molotov is armed. It looks like we don't yet know who's accosting them, right?
Right.
But they're getting shot at.
I do love how Molotov calls him Nathan, which is like a very old man move. For instance, my grandparents would always call me Rebecca.
Right.
Your full government name. All the syllables.
That's what happens when you become an adult.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But he's warning him that he's getting flanked by somebody who it's great. These are good Rob Lee moments, right? Because you see the soldier behind the tree firing out from it and that shot. And then it's significant because it hits Nate, but in the chest, in the body armor, knocking him off his speed. And then we do get a close up of the soldier, and it's just like, it's okay, it's just an armed human, like a military human guy who then gets kicked by Zigzag, which is like,
which is great.
Oh, I mean, you get kicked by a horse like that, it'll kill you if you get kicked around.
By a zebra?
Yes.
Couple things to note about this. I love the light of the sky. I love that gnarly tooth. The kick was so hard, it ripped a tooth with roots and all out of this guy's body. And we get that crack from Rob Lee. It's great. And then afterwards, Nate, with the sword held high, fear the almighty Zigzag.
It's absurd. Like, this is a very much like, if this was a show, because this could totally be a show, this would be a humorous
100%.
situation.
Because then you get Molotov, like the old man of the situation. And I read this and like, Nathan, you're being reckless.
Right.
I don't know how they do this, but like the emotion they put in this robot's eyes of like,
well, because he's not fully repaired, right? Quote unquote. But you can tell he's acknowledging something there. He's acknowledging something in that earlier panel right before the shot. And we do know that violence triggers Joe. This is the reprogrammed Joe who's since been unreprogrammed or whatever. But at the moment he's not operational, really. I guess he kind of is just ish. Because Molotov even says Joe is online after they take out all the guys. Molotov says Joe is online but not whole. And the tone has really changed. He says, once I fix him, we can locate our friends. It's very much like, all right, these guys are friends now. They hang out. And Molotov is of the mind that he can fix Joe, as opposed to being like, you're trapped in a basement and you don't think you can do this, so you're not even going to try. So it's cool. The party has evolved.
This whole scenario makes me even more solid. I recall, I believe it was Jeff who asked us what our favorite character was.
I think so, yeah.
And I did say Nate. And it's simply because of just a pure heart. And honestly, the character development, even now, is like, your friends will find you. And he's gaining all this courage and confidence in himself and really balances out Mr. Doom and Gloom. You know? He's like the Tigger to Eeyore.
He is. That's funny, though, because that makes me want to classify all the characters.
100%.
As Winnie the Pooh allegory.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was it was interesting how Nate's just like, you hear that, Mr. Geiger? Your friends will find you. And it's like they are in a big echoey valley being pursued by soldiers of some kind. So maybe not, but whatever. And they do indicate that those were Griffin soldiers, right? They just don't know if they're hunting the Glowing Man or Junkyard Joe.
Yeah, but we find out at the end of this book.
Right.
Which we'll get to that.
So then it goes back to the Northerner and Tariq. And this is an interesting, it's like a rapid conversation that comes to a very rapid, brings the Northerner to a somewhat rapid conclusion.
Yeah. What happened? To what? The world. I love the part where Tariq essentially is like, we blew it up. We don't know who. And everyone kept on kicking the ashes until nothing was left. And, the Northerners coming from far away, a different time where there are still trees. He said, wait, how? Why? Who did this? All very valid questions that I'm sure all of us have thought for the last 20 books we've had,
It is one of those things, though. If you've really been reading this bad boy since Geiger #1, and you got to understand, we still don't know who started that war.
Yeah.
And we still don't even have, the closest we could have to hints are that Benedict Arnold talked about how the founding fathers cult mission evil stuff was going to consume the world in fire or whatever. Like, that's the closest that we have to a sense. And it's been years, and we have many titles now, and that's great. Like, that's such an investment that it makes me see why there's a lot of people that just buy the trades or buy the those really cool deluxe hardcovers, which we have a couple of now. Because it's like, well, you pick that all up. It's like they've got a robust catalog now people do not realize that. It's like, this is many, many volumes of Geiger. This is many volumes of Redcoat at this point. This is all supportive material. Like, it's led to this conversation. This conversation happens somewhat near the moment when these two and that dog pop out in the portal and they see Junkyard Joe in a Hawaiian shirt at 4th of July, baby. And that's what made me want to do all of this. That moment was when I was like, heck yes. Like, woo, what are they doing? What are they doing? Like, I kept being like, did people realize, like, there's a timeline in the back of this book, and this is it. This is like the next, chapter turn that we've been waiting for, and I'm glad that they waited this long. But ultimately, the Northerner is basically like, I traveled through time to stop this badness, and this is all that's going to happen in the end.
Then we get back to Debbie Downer himself. Well, you've either got radiation sickness, maybe you're brain damaged, or maybe you're really from 1864. Doesn't matter, which is such a wild thing to say. No matter everything, the fact that he can explode and regenerate, etc. To meet someone who has traveled from a different time and be like, well, doesn't matter. Bye. It's crazy.
But they take it just far enough to then tease us with more world building, because it is the super defeatist moment from Tariq, and the Northerners starting to get this, like, wait a minute, like, I did all that, but then this is what there is. Yeah. He's like, there's not a cause. And then it's like that makes the light bulb go off on the guy, because he's like, wait, there is a cause, there is a why and a who, and it matters. And he's saying that there's something he knows about in Detroit about the original cell. So I'm assuming that is the original cell of these time terrorists. The cobbler and his ilk, as it were.
Yeah.
maybe I don't know if that's the right term, but like usually a cell is related to that or a
The
cell of
cobbler and his
bad
band
guys.
of time bandits.
They're-
His crew of time bandits. I don't know.
They travel through time, causing anachronistic things to happen, like eating too many Snicker bars.
Wow. He said, I can fix this, which is what brings pause to Tariq. Even though he says you're not the first one to tell me that, you know that gave him pause. Because if he went back, if I'm Tariq, I'm thinking in my brain, if you went back and fixed the Civil War because you saw that happen, maybe you can fix this and I get my family back.
You can tell he has that thought, and there's so much good because he's like walking away from him and he's like, wait, I can fix it. And then there's like the turning and the body, like Gary draws body language. That's cool.
Yeah.
Ultimately, he gets him to kind of stop for a second in the distance when he says, what if I could erase this war? And then we're like, okay, well, from this standpoint, we need something to convince Tariq. How do you think they came up with this idea of what this watch is about to do?
I don't know, but I think it's pretty awesome.
He pulls it out. It's like a 21st century style like watch, not a digital, not Apple or whatever, like a traditional watch.
All the normal dials, except for the watches have the little dials on the inside, and the left little dial is a blue magical light.
Right. The magical light of the magic or technology of the founding fathers cult or whatever. And he hits it and he's like, it's supposed to make a drop of guns and weapons. And he says, I don't know who they come from, only that they've kept him alive. And then a duffel bag shoots down. But that's again where it's not all blue light. There's some other light too. And then thump from Rob Lee. And you get this duffel bag full of, weapons from, I guess, like the 21st century, because it looks like an AK-47 in there or something like that.
Aren't we so intrigued on who's helping him, though?
So I think he's telling the truth about not knowing who they are.
I agree.
But I still want to know, like, okay, well, how'd you get the watch? How'd you arrive at that? How frequently can you summon a duffel bag of guns? Yeah. Like, does it? That's stuff that I would want to know. Do they come
preloaded? Is there any way to get specifics? And it just drops right to them.
Right.
And I think what's interesting is even after that, Tariq isn't 100% bought in that he's not from this time.
Right. Well, I love the moment where he opens the duffel bag and the Northerner says, someone wants us to have a fighting chance. And that doesn't mean anything more than what it just says to me. I just feel like it's a effective, very effective moment.
Well, yeah. So it's like, even if you don't believe in the fighting chance, someone who we don't even know believes in us having a chance. It's a pretty big deal.
Very much so. But he's walking Tariq through the logical conclusion. He's saying, if the North won the war, like you said, I can stop this one too, because he's saying logically he knows that eventually whatever he does, and maybe what he already did, worked. Like he did stop the cobbler. It was enough. And so that means he feels like it confirms his ability to change time with his actions. And like they kind of, like you said, Tariq's like, well, yeah, you sound crazy. You sound like you should be in a padded cell.
And then the Northerner says, maybe, but that bag of weapons is real. Like, you can't argue with that, sir.
Totally. And then they're driving, and so he lets him tell him his story.
So they go back in a banter of, like, he's basically, you don't know who sends him. It was classified, so your government. No, and it's just like a very quick back and forth, which I love how they illustrate that because it's in one panel. And the Northerner simply says, you're listening. And it just is the personality of Tariq to not say yes, but pretend that I am.
Yeah, right. But it is a really neat account because he, in his world, the south winds, and he keeps encountering this woman who looks like Muddy Davis's wife or something.
Mm-hmm.
And if it is, that'd be fantastic. But she's like coming to him to tell him that something wasn't right, basically over and over and over, until eventually she brings him a film of Martin Luther King's "I Have a Dream" speech.
Yeah.
And he was like, I had never heard of Martin Luther King Jr. And that seems to ring through to Tariq, because he's like, well,
Yeah.
I guess that's what happens when the wrong side wins.
And just how sad, we're approaching MLK Jr. Day, right? He said, in my world, he never lived long enough to speak there, never gave that speech. That's when I knew history had been twisted. Like how powerful of a speech that was, that even for the Northerner, he's like, okay, got it. I got to go fix this. There is hope. That's great.
But you do, no matter what, you make a really good point about it. It's like Tariq, if he's nuts, he's still got duffel bag full of automatic weapons out of the sky. So, like, if he's not a time traveler, do you know how he did that? I'm just saying, like, for him to have that and it be another thing, it's kind of illogical. But I know Tariq isn't a super, like, no, nothing works out ever, like, place. I get it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it doesn't matter to the Northerner. He's just like, I need to get to Detroit. Just, can you get me to Detroit? And Tariq says, you want me to drag you across the graveyard for ghosts? And then they get attacked by pirates.
Yeah, I guess history class is over.
Well, and it's great because you're like, oh, this is cool. The Northerner's the new one hanging out with us now. He hasn't seen Tariq transform yet, let alone when Tariq does it to a caravan full of raiders. This will be funny because there's going to be like the Northerner, like, holy cow, how can you do that? But instead, just as that's about to happen,
He said, save your ammo. We'll need it when we get to Detroit. What is that? Another drop. A lot bigger than a gun.
and it's a tank, and that's the last page of the issue, and that is also the lead into the next issue. It says, next, the time tank.
And I love it. Love it.
And it looks like in the next issue too, which is, the cover is like Tariq holding the Northerner in this like position in the library with lots of energy coming and going. They also have a write-up about the Northerner in here. And there's a lot that it is mentioned about the time tank in that as well. The Northerner wears a specialized watch linked to the Department of Historical Preservation. So we know that. Rather than sending clear orders, the department uses it to trigger drops, weapons, supplies, and most recently, the time tank itself, delivered through unstable time slips. The watch is often silent, and Malcolm is unsure who controls it, or if they still exist in his current future.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It took like 5 years to name that character. 4.5 years, something, I don't know. Malcolm. His name is Malcolm. Malcolm North, the Northerner, and his first appearance, once again, as it said in Ghost Machine #1, is Junkyard Joe #6 for 2023. Really cool.
Yeah. I do think we should speak briefly about the end of the book. The page honoring Andrew Hennessy also went by Drew to his friends. That's a beautiful touch in a comic book. So Andrew just passed, and it says, the Ghost Machine family mourns the loss of our fallen collaborator. Known to his friends as Drew, he was the consummate professional and one of the most highly regarded inkers and finishers in the entire field. He elevated everything he touched, on time, every time. We miss him terribly. Godspeed, Drew. I mean, just
bummer.
beautiful.
It's a bummer. It is awesome, though. Yes.
Yeah.
It is a bummer, though. Very cool that they
Yeah.
put that in there. And there's that page about the official guidebook.
Yeah.
Coming 5 volumes, 4 universes. And you know, how hot does Geiger get? Who is Widow X? We've been wondering that. What is the Committee on Spectral Affairs? We don't know that. There's also characters in here that we like. There's the Blizzard monster. Like there's sketches of characters in the woman that we were just talking about with the Northerner. She's in this crowd, dude. There's a polar bear. Did you see George Washington holding his hands upheld with the founding fathers' magic flowing from them? Did you see this guy?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. This is going to be super sweet, dude. Super sweet. So cool.
Yeah, and then they also give us a big page again for the $1 trillion kid that's coming 2026. Money can't buy everything.
Right.
Usually people who have money say that.
Yeah. Right. Another amazing issue of the Unnamed. And as usual, we can wrap up this episode of the Ghost Machine Fans podcast with a listener mail.
I'm sorry, what kind of mail?
With a fantastic mail that Snoggle is going to read to you right now.
Our fantastic mail comes from Trinitime, and they state the following. Seems like we haven't seen an issue of Hyde Street in a while. Recently, a new artist was announced on the series, too. Is everything okay with this series?
So the next issue of Hyde Street is issue 11. It's that sweet cover that has the Butcher of Hyde Street, I believe, on the cover of the A cover. And there's a cool Kale New variant of the B cover. And there's a Raza variant for the C cover of Mr. X-Ray. So this series, I did actually talk to a little bird at Ghost Machine about this, and I was told this series is back on track and there won't be any further delays. If you look up Hyde Street 11 on League of Comic Geeks, it looks like it's going to release in March of this year, and it is also going to feature Yvonne still on pencils, I believe. At least that's what the site says currently. I do know that Francis Portella joined the Ghost Machine team as like an exclusive creator contract, like we've talked about and celebrated in the past when other creators have done that. And so far, he's done pencils on books in the Horrorverse for Ghost Machine. But I don't necessarily know that that means Yvonne is going away at all. So I think we are going to still have both of them in whatever capacity I get. I'm happy. But my understanding is that it's going to be back on track, and the final order cutoff date is March 2nd for the comic that will then be able to be bought off the shelf on March 25th. That's March 25. And I understand where you're coming from, Trinitine. Thanks for sending your fantastic mail. I love this series. We love this series. We want more of this series. So I hear you. And don't worry, we're going to have plenty of Horrorverse in all of our futures. It's going to be great. And if you would like to check out all of our other content, you can do that by going to www.ghostmachinefans.com, where you'll find our socials and our wiki. And there's some Discord stuff on there. If you would like to join the Discord, you can check on the links in our Ghost Machine Fans Instagram profile or on the announcements page of the Ghost Machine Comics Reddit.
And thank you for joining us tonight on the Ghost Machine Fans Podcast.
Been waiting for years for this crossover podcast.